take my bike and get to the exit so I can actually hit the bike course. So this one I don't worry about as much in terms of counting how many steps or how many. I just, all you gotta know is, okay, the bike exit is that corner. So to get there, I gotta go down this aisle till it ends and then turn right. That's really all you need to know for that, but better to have thought about it beforehand than be there in the race, grab your bike, okay, wait, now where am I going? You don't wanna have that feeling. You wanna just be able to grab it and know exactly where you're gonna go.
As you're coming out of transition, where do you actually get on the bike?
There is a line. It'll be a little bit kind of outside once you clear the transition, once you actually gotten onto the road. And it's called a mount or a mount dismount if you're coming in the same place, mount dismount line. That is the line. There will be people there saying, this is the line. You have to get over the line before you can get on your bike. And then when you do the bike course, coming back in, you have to stop and get off your bike. You don't have to stop, but you have to get off your bike before you hit that line. Most people, and for your first step, I recommend stopping. Some people like to do what's called a flying dismount.
Get adventurous, try one, it's awesome.
Pretty much,
the one key to the flying dismount, there are two kinds of flying dismounts, the intentional and the unintentional. I recommend the former. Flying dismounts,
about being unintentional.
Yeah, I've done plenty of unintentionals myself. Flying dismounts, you're going to pull your feet out of your shoes or just unclip from the bike. And there's various styles, but essentially the idea of it is you are swinging your leg off and getting off the bike while you're still moving, so momentum just carries you across. So all you have to do, technically, is not be riding your bike when your bike crosses that mountain dismount line.
Good idea to air up your tires before you go to transition. However, sometimes if it's a day before, like with the DC Tri, you can bring your bike in on Saturday and races on Sunday. Some people might want to air up their tires the next day before the race. If you bring a pump into transition, have some way to get it out of transition. Don't leave a floor pump in transition. Do not leave one of those in transition.
So if you've got a support crew, friends, family down there that you can hand this off to, that's absolutely cool.
It's no fun to step on these in bare feet.
Don't leave it in transition. Keep in mind that there are some people in the race that are going to be doing stuff like that, or going to be, even if they stop, going to be getting them off the bike pretty quick and keeping moving. So if you know that your way of doing the dismount is you're going to come to the stop, you're going to unclip and just get off the bike, which is completely fine. I did that for years before I started throwing my body across asphalt. Just pull over to the side. Try not to be right in the center of that line as much as you can. Depending on the size of the group you end up coming up with, who's at the line, who's behind you, who's in front of you. You take space where you can, but as much as possible, don't stop. If you've got a mountain line, if from there to there, if your mountain dismount area, and you stop here, and you're just going to stop, not with that. Try and come over from one side to the other, just to sort of help yourself stay out of the way. That means that other people won't be coming up on you, rushing you along. You'll feel comfortable and won't feel pressure.
On that note of people actually doing the flying mounts and dismounts, also be aware that there are many, many newbies out there, and they will stop right in front of you. So you will actually seem like the one who knows what you're doing when you pull off to the side, because they will stop very suddenly and then take their time getting off, and then be like, oh my God, getting it into.
There's no rule. It's completely personal preference, what you're used to. I leave my shoes on the bike. Some people are more comfortable putting the shoes on in transition or taking them on, like leaving them on your feet, just dealing with them at your transition area. It also kind of depends on the gear you've got. If you have what's referred to as a triathlon shoe, which has one, maybe two straps like this, very easy for me on the bike to just reach down, throw this open, and I can leave that clipped in and pull my foot out. That's not bad. If you've got, these are even pretty good, but cycling shoes you'll see have 3 straps, have ratchets, have all sorts of more complicated ways to get in. If you get something like that, probably going to be a little bit harder for you to be riding and pulling your foot out of the shoe at the same time. So it's something to practice, it's something to get used to. Again, nothing new on race day. Practice it beforehand. If you're comfortable leaving the shoes on the bike, great. If you're not, don't mess with it. And I also know people who are comfortable getting into their shoes on the bike, don't like getting out of them. Or the other way around, they're comfortable getting out of the shoe but can't figure out how to put it in while they're riding. So it's completely for something for you to play with on your training rides.
I wouldn't even do it on a training ride. I did my practice in an empty parking lot with nobody looking because I fell over several
Yeah, I don't mean group
So,
ride.
yeah, just find a secluded area with a long flat stretch that you can coast and get used to reaching down. And just see how it feels, see if it's something for you. Because sometimes you feel, I'm not comfortable with this, I'll just wait until I get off the bike.
So,
Do you bike without socks?
I do. Other people don't. That again, like the running, comes down to personal preference. If you get used to biking without socks, I recommend it because I think it's easier even if you can run in socks. A lot of times, frankly, I do not run in socks. I have found that it is easier for me to put socks on coming off the bike going into the run when my feet are relatively drier than when I'm coming out of the water but just shoved off the wetsuit and I'm still dripping. Something small like a kitchen towel that you can use to just kind of push the water, the excess water off yourself. You know, rub some grass off your feet before you shove them in your shoes. That's a good optional thing. Everybody comfortable with that kind of prepping, setting up, thinking through where you're going and coming from process?
Do you want to use like a dumber, have that on your bike?
Oh yeah, leave it. I mean, I don't leave it overnight. Not so much for the theft thing, but if it's raining or if it, just I don't need it baking out in the sun. I will pull that off the bike.
In the morning though, I make sure to reset it so I have an accurate time and count of where I am on the bike. And before you even get started that morning, just go and make sure you're in a good gear that you can start off in. You don't want to be in a super tight gear when you get on the bike and just be like, trying to go. You want to be able to get into it and start spinning your legs nicely.
Another thing about transition areas is that they are well guarded. You have to have a band on your arm just to get into transition.
From a security standpoint, I've never had any problems or issues. No, so you're going to pick that up the day before. That's part of the whole race packet at the expo. They're going to give you they're going to give you this number. They're going to give you a number that will go on the helmet. They'll give you the numbers that are going to go on your bike. They'll give you your swim cap. And then the race pack as well, which is what's going to get you in and out. Race morning.
Yeah,
There will be a 10.
There'll be a tent. As you walk into transition in the morning, you're going to walk by a whole bunch of volunteers with markers, and they're going to look really happy to see you. Then they're going to ask you what your number is.
Happening.
Yes. And so they're going to ask you what your number is. You're going to go, just remember, on your wristband, you'll have your numbers. So you can just point it. You're not even going to wait, hold it out, and look at it. You'll get your number written on your arm, and then you walk.
There's one more step, and the colleges they will write your age on your cap.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be very comfortable with their age.
And it's your age as of December 31st of this year. Then you're going to step 10 feet further down, and there's going to be a whole wall of little things that look like this. They'll have a timing chip on them. This is just the ankle band here. And you'll tell them your number, which will now be written all over your body. And they'll hand you this, and the first thing you want to do is lean down, put it around either ankle, and make sure it's secure. Because if that falls off, pretty much you didn't run the race. And you owe them $30. Yeah.
Yeah, I just recommend, like she said, either ankle, but I think it's good to put it on the ankle that is not on the same side for your bike.
Yeah, put it just as not a rule or anything. It's best practice. Left ankle. I have kind of caught it a couple times on the chain ring if it's on the right side. So yeah, I tend toward left ankle. But like she said, as soon as they hand that to you,
Put it on.
put it on your ankle. And then you don't have to worry about it.
The number on the bike, where does that go?
A couple of different options. If you've got enough seat post, you can hang it off the back here. A lot of people put it down here or in the front section, right there. Just as long as it is visible from the side in some way or another.
Does it come with attachments?
It's a huge sticker.
Depends on what they do. Some are stickers, some are just kind of heavy pieces of paper that you fold over and they've got twist ties or something like that.
I'll take a stapler with me, or borrow one at the hotel. And when I put the number on my seat post here, I will staple it down. I won't even use the adhesive. I'll staple it down because I know that number's going to stay there. It's not going to fall off. That adhesive is not going to have a chance to fail on me because I'm not using it. If you start racing and it starts raining and your number gets wet, that adhesive does not always hold. All right. So if you staple it on, it's going to stay.
One other technique I recommend is electrical tape. I have put tape on my bike that I can put on wiring. It's very, very useful. It doesn't leave a mark on the bike no matter what kind of frame you get. It comes on and off very, very easily, but once it's on, it stays. It's not going to come off by itself. The stretchy factor is helpful if you want to use it to slap a couple of goos on the top tube. It's flexible enough that if you're kind of working the number into an awkward space here, you can kind of bend the tape around and get it to where you need to go. But that's something that I keep in my transition bag is it's just a little roll of electrical tape. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room, and you will find it useful more often than not.
When you put your number, if you put it on the top tube here, do not cover your cable with your number, okay? Put it under between the cable and the top tube, all right? So don't take your cable down with your race number. It will impede the function of that cable.
All of a sudden you're stuck in that gear, whatever it was. There's all sorts of, yes, we can definitely do it. There's all sorts of different options. Like we were saying earlier, play with it beforehand, try stuff out beforehand. Don't try something new on race day. Depending on the length of the race and what you're used to, goos tend to be easiest and most popular. They're very easy to just work with as you're racing. All it takes is one hand to bite the pack and squeeze it down. You don't have to be fumbling with pieces. You don't have to chew really. So a lot of people tend to like that as a default. Some people just don't like goos. Or if you're looking for other options, there's everything from Clif Bars, which if you're doing a longer race are a great option. They do take a long time to chew. They do require the water, and they require, it's a larger object. You're probably not going to want to eat that all in one go in something like the DC Tri. You don't need that much nutrition sitting in your gut, because that's what's going to happen. Is the Clif Bar is just going to sit in your stomach for most of the race. You want something that's going to be able to break down faster for a race of this length. If you're doing an Ironman and you're going to be out there all day long, it makes more sense to be eating more solid food. Other options, there are gels, or like that look like gummies. Gummy squares. Clif has some really good ones. There are sport beans. There are just all sorts of different nutrition products. Yeah, they're jelly beans. They put a little bit more electrolytes in them so that adults can feel good about themselves.
And let me speak to one thing on that. Remember when you pick up things like Clif Shots, some of them are for energy, some of them are for electrolyte replacement. There's a difference. So don't think you're picking up one thing and it's all going to do the same thing. Some of it replaces electrolytes, kind of like your powdered drink mixes do. Some of it is for energy and protein while you're on the bike for the run.
Question about that, putting your nutrition in your liquid versus solid, in water, separate or is that a joke?
It's personal preference. I also kind of vary depending on the race distance I'm doing. For a shorter race, I'll just go with water, and in a goo or two. If it's an Olympic or certainly a half, I've got at least one water bottle or even both water bottles with some kind of electrolyte in it. Maybe it's strictly electrolyte, something like a Noon or something like that, which isn't really going to have calories to it or sugar to it or anything like that, but it's just going to be help replenish the electrolytes. If I'm going farther, definitely do some kind of Gatorade type thing that's going to actually have calories in it as well, so that I can get some calorie intake from the liquid.
And on that point, I have a friend who cannot eat on the bike. She just can't physically bring herself to eat while pedaling. So she found a supplement that gave her calories through the liquid. So she was able to add it to her water and get 200 calories an hour for her Ironman she did while drinking, because she wasn't able to eat while she was biking.
There are liquid mixes that are everything from just a little bit of flavoring, like a Crystal Light packet that just kind of gives a little bit of flavor and maybe gives you some little bit of electrolytes. That type of setup, not Crystal Light itself, but